Welcome to Strength and Dignity campaign. I'm Dawn Mansky with Made for Freedom, and we are highlighting and featuring organizations and individuals for 31 days that are bringing strength and dignity to women and others around the world. I'm here today with Angie Yarbrough, and she is the head of school at the Freedom School in St. Louis, Missouri. She's not only an incredible educator, but she's my neighbor and a good friend. So I'm excited to have her today to talk about education and the connection and the things that education can provide in helping avoid a vulnerability. Okay, I'm all over the place. Moses?
Good, better you. It's your show, you can do that.
Yeah, exactly. Moses! Okay,
So
we're
say, Moses, cut that
Moses, we're gonna wipe that. Okay, we're gonna start it from the top again. Hi, I'm Dawn Mansky with Made for Freedom, and thank you for joining us today on this episode of Strength and Dignity. We're doing 31 days of Strength and Dignity, highlighting and featuring individuals and groups that are bringing strength and dignity to others, to women around the world, to people, and in all sorts of situations. I'm here today with Angie Yarbrough, who is the head of school at the Freedom School in St. Louis, Missouri. She's not only an educator and a good friend of mine, but she's also my neighbor. So I'm excited to introduce you to Angie and hear what she has to say about education in this realm of strength and dignity. So Angie, welcome.
Thank you.
So first off, tell us what you do and why you've chosen to give your time and energy to what you do.
Mm-hmm. I think, first of all, I didn't choose education. It chose me. I spent 16 years homeschooling my own kids. And then I was drawn by friends to participate in a community college program called Gateway to College, which helped high school dropouts return to education. And that's where I really got my training in life, I think. I grew up in a fairly middle-class context, went to a great college, got married, kind of had a little dreamy life. And then Gateway to College, those students showed me the other part of life in this country for under-resourced communities, and especially its effect on the children and what a profoundly negative effect there can be on kids who are not successful, just in the classical sense, in the educational environment. So from there, I decided to get my master's degree, and then my church invited me to come along and head the Freedom School here. So it's been a great journey with lots of practical education.
I'm sure. What would you say are the greatest needs in the world of education?
In the United States, I think our greatest need now is meeting the needs of many of our students in the urban schools. We have really not given enough credit to the effect of trauma on our students, and what effect it has to live in environments where gun violence, living in our neighborhood, we hear gunshots on New Year's Eve, and but where these students are actually on the ground day to day, negotiating the walk to school, walking around people using drugs, people trying to recruit them into gangs, people trying to take revenge for gang activities, dodging bullets, hitting the floor in your neighborhood, in your own living room, when you hear gunshots, and the effect that has, in addition to broken families. We have a lot of single moms who work very hard day in and day out. But what it means in a lot of these communities is students who have a lot of unsupervised time, which opens them up to many negative influences they certainly wouldn't be open to if mom was right there on the spot. But she can't hold down that job and watch the kids at the same time. So we as educators need to do a better job of learning about the effect of trauma and responding to the outward effects of trauma that we see in the classroom, instead of responding in a disciplinary way to how a student's behaving, to recognize, oh, this student really does want to learn but doesn't know how to express themselves correctly, or that student might do better every day if they slept better every
Mm-hmm.
night. You know, as the head of school, I see a lot of the disciplinary cases, and I've grown to say, my first thing I say to kids is, so what'd you do last night? Because I want to know where they slept, how much they slept, because I don't know about you, but if I get 4 hours of sleep, nobody's going to want to talk to me, and I'm not going to learn anything. So just as educators, we need to do a better job of becoming very familiar with the ramifications of trauma and addressing them in our classrooms in ways that actually help the student learn to manage their lives better.
Nice. Hadn't thought of that. And the sleep thing. Goodness.
It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
And I've learned recently the value of attachment and just ways in which not becoming properly attached to your parents. You know, we have this absence of fathers in many of our communities, and there's no way to overstate the effect of that on children. Just not having the added security of two parents for the household. And we've just kind of take that as a matter of course and really just kind of wave it off. And it shouldn't be. It absolutely should not be. Many factors in our communities that we've grown accustomed to, because unfortunately in these communities they become commonplace, but we've not addressed them. We've not tried to work with them. We've not tried to meet needs in other ways. And of course there are programs out there. There are things people are doing, but on a broad scale, we really need to just factor this in. Every student, I believe, in St. Louis Public Schools, for example, should be entitled to individual counseling.
Wow,
On site.
That would be incredible.
That would be huge. And I know that's a big budget line item.
Yeah.
Also, being head of school, also, I understand that. But unless you can actually develop a relationship with your child, there's very little you can teach them.
Right. Okay. How would you describe the connection between education and vulnerabilities or exploitation?
Oh, yeah, it's huge. Just when at the Freedom School, a huge part, really what's foundational to what we do is reconciliation. We're a Christian school, so we believe that reconciliation to God is tantamount to be in sync with our Creator and His purpose for us. But reconciliation to the people around us, our brothers and sisters who inhabit the planet with us, and then reconciliation in oneself. And that last one seems to be the hardest to teach. That's where all that trauma enters in, where all that junk is compressed, where the students really have no sense of their own value, identity, or self-efficacy. We're made, like our Creator, to be creators. And so unless they can tap into what sense how can I fulfill my purpose, they're not going to be satisfied. You know, we sell them cheap goods in our casual language in this country, meaning success, money, house, cars, those things will make you happy. Don't you want to have your own house? Don't you want to go to college? Well, but we've already found out that people who have billions of dollars, they get to the top, and what do? Then they turn around and say, oh, you know, this isn't making me happy. I have a higher purpose.
Yeah.
And you see it. They start, you know, you look at the Gates of the world and other multimillionaires and billionaires, and you see now we've kind of got the message. Well, let's take a shortcut. Let's not pursue $1 billion, because we probably won't get there anyway. But let's just go right to our purpose. How can I go about making this world a better place? And it's through that reconciliation process that we do that. And as educators, we have such an opportunity, because we probably spend more time with our students than their parents do. So we're speaking truth into them. Sometimes they seem to reject it, but I'm just constantly amazed at how they will repeat my words to me, and I didn't think they were even listening. So we have tremendous power in the things we say and the way we establish relationship with our students, that in the classroom we need to show them that these are the critical things. Don't sell me that bill of goods. Show me what really matters. And kids, when you talk to them, they have a unique ability to get down to what really matters.
Mm.
And it's very off-putting to many educators because we enter the classroom with our own insecurities and weaknesses, and we're not ready to stand naked in front of that classroom and uncover ourselves and say, these are my weaknesses, my flaws. You hurt my feelings. You know, you asked me a question I didn't know an answer to. But once children know that that's okay, that they see your example, and then they start asking you the questions that really matter. And then you have to confess even more that you don't know the answer. But unless they have some individual in their life that they have a relationship with, that is affirming them and saying, you can be more, you can do more, you can be a change agent, not just in your own life, but in lives in your community and ultimately in the world, perhaps, then they're going to be vulnerable, because then they don't know, why am I here? What am I doing? Their biggest purpose, you could probably remember, I can remember as a child, some of my attitudes were, my biggest goal in probably years, you know, was to get that scooter. You know, and the whole life is centered around that. But we need to give them a proper context in which to live and move. And I think when we have given them that context, when they've trusted us enough to accept that and to see themselves in that context, then they're not easily preyed upon.
Nice. And I mean, even with those hopes and those dreams of what people want, I've heard of girls that have gone out and sold themselves for a purse. Like, oh, I really want that purse. And they see themselves with so little value, and that purse is such a high value. And that's amazing, kind of teaching them that value. So share with us how you've seen strength and dignity instilled in the life of a student as the result of education.
Oh my goodness. It's the cool thing about working with kids is you see change relatively quickly. Not quickly enough for most educators. We still become frustrated, but we see change in kids just by listening to them, laying the ground rules. We had a young lady who came in this year who really just lives in the heart of the ghetto, violence, has had periods of homelessness in her life. We met her because she was in a street fight. Several of our friends had to break up. So just the role of violence in her life was fairly commonplace. One of a number of kids with a single mom, still trying to get a full-time job. So their existence was very tenuous. And she was the most closed individual I've ever met. I just could not believe, you know, she didn't want to be touched. She wanted to stand aloof from the group. She constantly had a posture of, I'm not listening to you. And we had to, you know, sometimes teachers, we have to encourage each other. I had to remind her teacher, she is listening. She is listening. And just because her eyes are rolling doesn't mean she's not listening. But just throughout the course of the semester, saying positive things to her, you know, you can do this. You don't have to worry about how far you're behind. The only gauge is you. The only direction is moving forward. You know, come from where you are 4 grade levels behind, and let's go on to 2nd grade level work. Let's go on to 3rd grade level work, and seeing that progress made, and literally seeing a child who is completely closed, angry at the whole world all day long. What energy goes into expressing anger constantly, closed, you know, just cutting everyone off. But seeing that child, I can remember the first day we came in the teacher's lounge and one of the teachers said, she smiled. And it was a cause for celebration. What happened? Why did she do it? Tell us the context. We all wanted to know. And then there were various spottings around school. I saw her smile too. And then recently, our in-school counselor, we only have part-time, but she's a critical part of what we do at our school, because we are a mission school. Even though we're A private school, we're mission, which means we take whoever walks through the door, as long as we feel like we can meet their needs. And people may pay $25 a month to attend per family, for example. So this whole family of kids is there for $25 a month. But I say that just because if our school can make it work to have a part-time counselor, I'm going to challenge those public schools to do the same. But anyway, one of the ideas that our counselor had was to have her do a handcraft. So she started sewing. And when I walked into the counselor's office and she was just wrapping up her craft, and she held up her craft to me, and she was beaming.
Oh, wow.
You know, I congratulated her and, you know, said the wonderful things. And I walked around the corner really quickly and just burst into tears.
Oh.
Because I really felt like I just looked in the face of an angel. And just, I saw that child and I saw the other child who I'd seen before. She was making a connection with another healthy human being. She had created something with her own hands that she loved and she valued, and she knew she could do something. And she said it to me. And she was outwardly looking for my approval.
Wow.
And I thought, there's no greater gift, you know, that you actually value me. Oh my gosh.
Right.
So yeah, it's really neat to see that. All of them aren't that extreme, but if any educators are watching this, I'm sure you can all think of a tough nut.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, and you don't have to be an educator. You can probably just think of your own kids if you have them, that you just feel like you're never getting through to. But if we as adults persevere to set aside who we are, what our agenda is, what our expectations are, to just listen, to risk losing status, stature, accomplishment, whatever we're looking for, to actually hear the children around us, I think that would be the best thing.
Yeah. Well, that's great. What a great story. Okay, so if you were to give one action item for people who want to have a positive influence on education, what would that be?
Listen to children. Just pick one. Everybody, what really broke my heart when I worked in the high school dropout program was that a lot of our students did not have one person that they could call in case of emergency. I had to explain to someone once what my ICE number was in my phone, because they looked and they said, "What's ICE? You getting jewels or what?" You know, I said, "No, that's my case of emergency number." "Oh, well, who would you call if you broke down in the middle of the desert, you know, and you needed somebody to come and get you?" "I don't know." "Well, how about your grandma?" "Oh no, she wouldn't. Not in the middle of the night, no." You know, you know, and I knew better than to say dad or mom because I knew too much about the backstory. But it just broke my heart because, of course, I could think, you know, I would call you. You're my next door neighbor, but you'd be like 5th or 6th on the list.
Right.
And so I thought, what sadness.
Yeah.
That, you know, that a person, a young person, would not have one person they can call to rescue them from a bus station.
Right.
You know, in the middle of the night. It really made me sad. And so I would just say, if we could be that one person for a kid, even kids with lots of junk, they're the hardest. The ones who are cursing at you or cursing about you even, and just take it and recognize, I have a house, an income, life insurance, you know, all those things that make us feel secure as adults. This child has nothing, and he's struggling. Be that person who hears them out and says, okay, I'm concerned that the way you're going, you're going to end up having this problem. Or I'm concerned that, you know, you have to be very careful about giving advice, you know, but they will ask it if they know they can trust you, and if they know that you will unconditionally love them.
Nice.
Just, you're a mess, but come on in here, get something to eat, you know. That's what happened. Oh, and usually they'll say, Miss Yarbrough, I messed up, didn't I? I wasn't going to say that. But if you can be that person to hear them and to love them, it might be a neighbor kid that you notice is always sitting out on the front porch when they shouldn't be. It might be a kid in the classroom or at your bus stop or something. It's crazy how many kids are out there when you open your eyes and start looking. You know, just the potential for being entirely alone as a child it's really sad. Right. But if you look and be that person for someone, they may turn to you in a really critical moment. And you just never know. So that's what I say.
Okay. Listen, that is it. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm excited to have you in the conversation with us. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We will have more episodes on strength and dignity. We're getting such good feedback. We will probably continue this beyond the 31 days. It won't be every day. It's a little too much on my plate, but this is going to continue. So we appreciate you joining us, and share if you can, and sign up for the email to get all of the episodes in case you have not. Thanks again. There we go.
That's the end.